All right, so for today's lesson, we're going to focus on transversals. To start the conversation today, I want us to focus on this prefix trans. So if you look at the word transport, that means to take something from one place to another. Think transcontinental, think history, think transcontinental railroad. It took something from one continent to another. Transcribe means to take words, spoken words, to written words. So you're taking it from spoken to written. Translate, taking one language to another. Transfer, moving something from one spot to another. Transformation, changing one thing to another. And then finally, translation, just like translate, taking something from one language to another. So that prefix trans means to go across one thing to another. So when we talk about a transversal, transversal is a fancy word for a line that goes across a set of parallel lines. So a transversal is a line that crosses two parallel lines. And when that happens, some very special angle relationships are formed. So let's draw a couple parallel lines. Okay, so assume that these are parallel. They may not be, they may be, but assume that they are. So I've got two parallel lines. Let's call this line AB, and let's call this line CD. So I can show that they're parallel by saying line, with this little line over it, AB is parallel to line CD. So that's important. Them being parallel is important. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to draw a line that transverses line AB and line CD. So that is a transversal. So let's call this XY. So transversal XY transverses lines AB and line CD. So what's important about transversals, if two lines are parallel, this transversal XY intersects line AB at the same exact angle that it intersects line CD. So what that means is that the way it intersects these two lines is congruent. So what we're going to do next is we are going to look at some angle relationships that are formed when a transversal intersects two parallel lines. So what I'm going to do next is I'm going to label the angles that we have when a transversal intersects two parallel lines. So we'll just go in alphabetical order. We'll call this A, B, C, D, E, and F. All right, so we've got a transversal intersecting two parallel lines. And the way that the transversal intersects these lines makes these angles have very specific relationships to one another. So let's just start off by calling angle A 150 degrees. So if angle A is 150 degrees, we look at angle B. Angle A and angle B are what we call supplementary. remember that supplementary angles add up to 180 degrees. So if A plus B has to equal 180, then 180 minus 150 degrees equals angle B. 180 minus 150 gives us 30 degrees. So we know right away that if A is 150, B has to be 130. So now let's turn this sideways. B plus D also equals a straight line. So if B is 30, then D plus B has to equal 180. 180 minus 30 equals 150 degrees. And lastly, C. C plus D are supplementary, therefore they have to add up to 180. So 180 minus 150 gives us 30. So C also has to be 30 degrees. So we found A, B, C, and D just using one angle. I gave you the angle of 150. We use supplementary angles to find B. B and D are supplementary. We use that to find D. D and C are supplementary. We use that to find C. Now, here's probably the most important, excuse me, the most important piece. This transversal, this line right here, intersects this line at the same exact angle that it intersects this line. So what that means is we have matching angles or corresponding angles. So if A is 150, that means this angle is also 150 degrees. Because this transversal, trans means cross, crosses these two lines at the same exact angle, then angle A is the same as this angle right here, which means angle B is the same as this angle right here. So we can denote that this is 30 degrees. Same idea here. D matches up with F. So F is 150 degrees. And then C matches up with E. So E has to be 30 degrees. So because this transversal intersects these parallel lines, they're parallel, so it intersects them at the same exact angle. This angle matches up with this angle. This angle matches up with this angle. These inside angles match, so C matches up with E, D matches up with F. So that's the first most important piece about a transversal intersecting parallel lines.